So there's something that really matters, and it has to matter to you. I know it matters to me, and what it is your truth. And this moment, maybe it's not as pressing for you. Maybe your truth isn't in question. Maybe your truth isn't being suppressed, or maybe it is. Maybe you're in a trying situation right now where someone or something is trying to steal what's rightfully yours, which is your truth. And I meet people all the time that are in situations like this. It could be legal situations, it could be situations in their career, it could be situations with their loved ones where they have this thing called the truth, and there's nothing but the truth. Like, it is what it is. But there's someone, some outside force that's trying to suppress what they know is true, what they personally experienced. And this outside force is trying so diligently to make them feel like they're crazy, to make them feel like they're off, to make them feel like they've done wrong, but they know there's the truth. And what happens is there's this point in time, this has happened to everybody that's been in question, where they start questioning whether or not it's even worth it. Like, is it even worth fighting through to ensure that the truth is seen by the world or by the community or whoever matters? And then when they're at that point, what tends to happen is they give in. They give in and they give up. And although it might create a short-term sense of peace, what ultimately it does, it leads to the most severe regret, because they know they had an opportunity to expose the truth and they didn't do it. And it wasn't just about their truth, the fact that there was people before them that didn't have the resources or the courage, and people after them that won't have the resources or the courage. But if they did, if they finished what they started, if they exposed the truth, it could have closed the story, closed the chapter for those that have been hurt, and prevented others from being injured. So I'm fanatical about this because I'm personally experiencing it. I'm personally experiencing it where there's this small little group of people that are trying to suppress the truth, my truth, what truly transpired. And I just will never allow that to happen. Not just for me, but for everybody else that's been hurt, everybody else that will get hurt. And I started dissecting, like, what am I doing when I'm in this situation to navigate? Because that's really what it is. It's a complete navigation. You're just trying to find a way to bridge these gaps to get to that next level. And what I realized is there's 5 specific things that I've been doing diligently. And the first thing that I've been doing to ensure that the truth is always the thing that prevails is I take a deep breath before I make any critical decision. And that might sound hokey, but it's so not. Because sometimes when your truth is being challenged, you get to a point where you're really emotionally erratic. And if you're emotionally erratic and you're making rash decisions, what you're not thinking about is 2 or 3 or 4 steps ahead. So what I have forced myself to do, because I'm a human just like you and I have these emotional responses, is that I take a deep breath. I slow down just for a few seconds. But what it allows me to do is to think logically about what the next step is. And it's not just about the next step, it's about the next 17 steps based on that next step. So I encourage you, if you're in a situation where you're trying to ensure that the truth prevails, and there's all these pressures around you, that you commit to breathing before making a decision. Commit to breathing before taking an action, because it's going to allow you to see many steps into the future, which is going to ensure that the next step that you take is getting you closer to where you ultimately want to get to in the future. The second thing that you need to do in order to ensure that your truth prevails is give yourself the permission to change your mind if all of a sudden you collect new data that leads to whatever decision you made being out of alignment. This recently happened to me where I made a decision, and I'm here to expose the truth and nothing but the truth to assure that the truth prevails. And the decision that I made based on the data that I had at that time aligned with the truth. But all of a sudden, more data came in. More data came in, and most people, when they're in a trying situation, they don't want to change it up. They don't want to have to take a few steps backwards, because what if they don't take those steps forward? But for me, the only thing that matters is the truth. And as I collected this data, I realized I can't stand by the word that I put out, because the word that I put out was misconstrued. It was influenced and manipulated with not enough information. And now that I have this information, I have to have the courage to unwind and say, no, I'm not willing to do what I just said a month earlier. And that may create short-term chaos, but ultimately what it does is to ensure that the truth has prevailed. The truth remains in integrity. So give yourself the permission when you're in that trying time to change your mind. And this holds true in all areas of your life. When you make a decision, you commit to something. If you collect more data, you're not committed to it for life. You're committed to it in that moment based on the data that you've collected. And the more information you have, it allows you to make different decisions going forward. So give yourself the permission, especially when you're exposing the truth, to change your mind as you collect more information to ensure that the truth prevails. The third strategy to ensure that the truth prevails is that even when everything inside is telling you to stop, you do the exact opposite. So everything inside is telling you that you'll be at peace if you just take it easy right now. Slow down, give in, give up. You have to do the exact opposite. When your mind, those limiting beliefs are trying to suppress you and tell you to play it safe, you have to extrovert and get louder. You have to get bolder and more audacious. It's so critical that when you're on this path to ensure that the truth prevails, that the truth prevails. That just because there's a moment where you feel you want to just give up and quit, default to step one. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a moment to slow down, and then keep on keeping on. Because remember, it's not just about what you're fighting for you. It's the fact that there was people before you that didn't have the resources, nor were they resourceful enough or committed enough to ensure the truth prevailed. And there's going to be people after you as well that aren't you. And you've been called in this life to ensure that the truth is exposed, that people see the truth. But when you're in those moments where it makes more sense to quit than continue, just continue. I guarantee it. I promise you. Reach out to me if you need to. But I guarantee you, just keep on keeping on to ensure the truth will prevail. So the fourth strategy is this, and I'm sure you've heard the alternative to this, whether it's better to be at peace than to be right. Well, listen, if being at peace is a false sense of peace, then it's just better to be right. And this is so important because there are many people that have gone through a lot in their life, and they realized in the end that it's just better that I would have accepted peace in that moment than fought for what was right. But if you were to ask them to really unbundle that, they regret deeply not going for what was right. And although that short-term peace may have allowed them to take it easy, there's a side of them that says, oh, what if? What if? So I just encourage you, don't just go for peace. If going for right is going to be the long-term benefit to you, it's going to long-term relinquish the pain and suffering that you went through to get to that point. Don't go for peace if right is going to set you free and set the people in the past free and set the people in the future free as well. Don't go for a false sense of peace when ultimately right is what you committed to. Because the truth, your truth, is what's right. And your truth must be the thing that prevails. And the fifth strategy that I am constantly deploying, I mean constantly on my quest to ensure that the truth prevails, the truth is exposed, is that I remind myself of the truth. I replay stories in my head so that I can see what actually transpired. Because when there's forces around you that are trying to suppress truths, trying to manipulate you, trying to scare you, trying to bully you, there will be moments that you start to believe their narrative versus the narrative. And it's so critical that you delve deep back into, on a regular basis, to the narrative. The narrative, what actually transpired. And what actually transpired is called your truth. So those are the 5 strategies that I am currently living. I am currently living, and I'm recording this because I have this feeling that maybe it's you, maybe it's someone that you know, maybe it's a random person that somehow stumbles upon this video or one of these videos, and it's just what they need to watch and hear. Because they're in a situation right now that's trying for them. And that trying situation is one where their truth is being suppressed, where their truth is being manipulated, where they're trying to be wrong even though they know that they're right. And the people surrounding them are telling them, just go for peace, don't go for right. But it's a false sense of peace. And they have to go for right because right is their truth. And they've committed to that truth. For them, for all the people that have been hurt, and for all the people that will get hurt, if they were to give up and give in. So my challenge to you is that if this is you that is having this experience and you're questioning whether or not it makes sense to continue, just find a way to get my attention, reach out to me, let me help you navigate this one. Your truth, the truth, it must prevail, and I know that you have what it takes. All right, bye for now.